I finally found a jumpsuit style for wovens that I know I'm gonna make over and over again. I've got two to share. Here's a sneak peek. One shorter, one full length. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. Today I'll be sharing two jumpsuits that I've made recently. One is shorter, one is longer. A lot out of my comfort zone. Over the years, I've experimented with a few jumpsuits, two. With one, I was extremely unhappy. With the second one, I was very happy, but that's for knit fabrics. This time, this is for a woven design, and it's just so easy to fit and so easy to wear. It's also not complicated to sew, and I'm super happy I tried it out, and I got that out of my system because I've seen this pattern for quite a while and wanted to try it. Now that I've tried it, I'm very, very happy, and I know I'm going to be repeating this pattern because it's so amazing to wear. And what I'm talking about is the
Seachange Jumpsuit or playsuit from Pattern Emporium.
So I guess these types of garments get different names depending on where you are in the world. For me, this type of garment is called a jumpsuit, no matter how long or how short it is. But I think shorter versions are called rompers or playsuits. And this pattern was released quite a few years ago, and I've always seen it on the website. I've seen people posting their makes, and I always thought that looks really comfortable. So finally, I went ahead and made it. This is actually the Patreon sew-along pattern for the month of May. Those who belong to my Orchid Tea on my Patreon page have seen the full detailed sew-along from start to finish.
This is a super easy to fit jumpsuit. There's no zippers, there's no buttons. You basically pull it on from the bottom over your hips, and then you just get into the straps like that. Super easy. The legs are wide leg palazzo style, and then you have different lengths.
Lots of inseam options. A very short one around 3.5 inches, then another one at 6.5, that's called the mid-length, and then there's a 3/4 length,
And then full length. So you can choose whatever length you want there. The sewing is going to be exactly the same.
Now, because it's a wider style, the crotch of the jumpsuit is going to be lower, so it's not going to fit like pants where the crotch is close to your body at the inseam area. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be dropped, which in turn makes it easier to fit. The neckline is super nice. It's rounded front and back, and on the inside it's finished with facings. There are two types of facings, one that's totally closed at the back, one that's open at the back. This is a liner of how the open one looks. It's sort of similar to what you see in some woven blouses that have a higher neckline, and then you have a little slit at the back with a loop and a button. Something like that, but just lower down here. And when I talk about sizing, I'll discuss why these two options are there. The straps can be made in different ways. You can sew really thin ones or wider ones. Guess which ones I chose? I always go with the wider strap option. I've been known to alter patterns that only are designed for super thin straps to have wider straps. In this case, I didn't need to hack that. It was already a part of the pattern as an option. So thank you so much, Kate. You can do different types of straps, adjustable ones or ones with a loop. I think adjustable straps are okay if you're planning to sew this as a gift, because then the person can adjust. You see that a lot in ready to wear, and it totally makes sense because you can't customize. But if you're sewing for yourself, I think it's just easier to try it on while you're sewing and figure out the exact length you want for your strap, cut it short, and then just sew them in on both sides. For my sewing, I always go for the fixed strap. I don't even have notions to do adjustable straps. On the side seams, around where your hip area, you can sew inseam pockets. I have actually sewn only one on my right leg. It is still there. I might remove it later down the line. I might not. Let's see if it bothers me when I wear it. The only reason I sewed that inseam pocket there was to have it as part of the sew-along for Patreon, because I want to include the most details I can in the sew-along. But you know, my preference is not to do the pockets ever. So for my second version that I sewed off camera, the full length version, those don't have pockets, but you can do them. I know 99% of people that sew like the pockets there. I'm the 1% that doesn't appreciate them that much. For waist shaping, you can leave it without waist shaping and just wear it loose and just live your life. I don't really feel confident like that, so there is an option to sew in ties at the waist. I ended up sewing my ties at the center front. The ties are long enough to be able to just go all the way around to do a little bow at the back. So that's what I did with one of them. And then for my second version, I sewed in little belt loops on the side and on the center back. I just made those little belt loops myself, just made a little rectangle and sewed those in. Now, the other day I was showing Kate, who owns Pattern Emporium, the designer, my first version. I was just so excited about it, and she offered to give me a coupon code. Now, I've never done this before. If you go ahead, watch this episode, you like the pattern and you'd like to try it, if you purchase it through Wednesday at midnight, At checkout, you can type the code Karina with a capital, Karina20 altogether, and you'll get 20% off. You have a little over 3 days to take advantage of this coupon code, and then it will expire. So I think that's really cool. I will leave you my affiliate link down in the description box and also in the pinned comment right on top of all the comments. I'll also leave the coupon code there so it's easy for you to see. Go ahead and use it. I think it's super generous. Thank you so much, Kate, for the coupon code, and I hope you take advantage. The Seachange is designed for woven fabrics. I would really respect that and just sew it with woven fabrics. I would not want to sew this with a knit fabric. I think you'd have to size down a lot. I wouldn't really be happy with finishing the facings in there and interfacing and all the techniques you do with woven. For a knit fabric, it's harder to manage, believe it or not. So I would recommend just staying with the woven fabrics here. Light to medium weight, drape is desired just because it's a looser style with a wider leg pant. I think it makes total sense that you want fabric that drapes a little bit better rather than stiff fabrics. So my choices are always going to be linked to rayon. You can use the plain weave of rayon, but I think sometimes it can be a little too lightweight, a little bit sheer, especially if you're using lighter colors. So I would really pay attention to lighter colors here. I think rayon twill would be an amazing fabric to use because it's a little heavier, same as tencel twill. And then the best is the rayon linen blend. For one of my versions, I'm sewing a blend that's 70% rayon, 30% linen. It's drapey, it's heavier, it's just amazing. It's not transparent, perfect. Now, other fabrics you could use, I suppose, if you want more structure and you don't want drape, go ahead and use cotton lawn or chambray, 100% linen. The only asterisk I'm adding to the linen, if you're doing the full length version, is that it takes up a lot of fabric. And I'm talking about a lot, like 3 meters at least, more than 3 yards, at least for my size and my length. So yeah, it would be hard for me to use such a costly fabric in that amount of yardage. So just think about that because it's a pattern that takes up quite a bit of fabric. The shorter version would take less fabric, of course. So think about that if you are interested in the cost of your sewing.
You need a little bit of fusible interfacing for the facings.
Those are the only pieces that need interfacing. For the sizing, it's available from 4 to 26 Australian sizing. I've got it written down here. It goes up to a 50 3/4 inch bust and 54 3/4 inch hip. That's size 26. I know the most recent patterns go up to a size 30 Australian. This is a little bit of an older pattern, so it doesn't have those 2 extra sizes there. Now, I had mentioned in the features that there were 2 ways to finish the back area of the neckline. There's a facing there regardless, but it can be simple and just close. That's going to be useful if you have more of an inverted triangle shape. Maybe your bust size is larger than your hip size. You'll be able to step into your jumpsuit perfect because your hips tend to be smaller. If you sew a straight size like me, where your bust, your waist, your hips are in the same size, you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to step into your jumpsuit, no drama. If you measure yourself and find yourself plotting your measurements where your bust waist size is smaller than your hip size, then you will need that extra circumference around this area to be able to step into the jumpsuit, and then that's why you need that open back facing right there. So you can open that and it'll give you more circumference to step into the jumpsuit. So that's why it's there. Now, if you want to do the open back facing, just because it's pretty, you can do it even if you don't need it. I've done it so I can have it part of the tutorial. I've shared it in my Patreon page, but I'm also going to share that with you here. And it's pretty, I really like it. I can take my arms back and do the button loop myself because it's lower down here. It's a little higher than your straps, than your bra hook would be. So I think it's okay. You don't need help to get in and out and to unhook the little button. It's fine and it looks really pretty. So whether you need it or not, I think it's pretty. In my second version, I did it with the closed facing just for time's sake. Now there's one measurement you need to take so that you know whether you need to lengthen your jumpsuit from here down to the crotch. And it's a measurement that combines 3 measurements basically, from where your clavicle is up to your waist, from the base of your neck down to your waist. Write those 2 measurements down somewhere. And then you're going to take a crotch measurement like you would for pants from your waistline all the way to the other side. Add them all up. You're going to get a large number in centimeters or in metric. And you'll find a little table in the sizing section of the pattern instructions that tells you what to do. Now, for my size 18, There's a measurement there, a total length of 172 centimeters, 67 something inches. So if my measurement is smaller than that, I'm fine. I don't need to do any adjustments. Now, if my measurements are extremely shorter than the pattern, if I was petite or a lot shorter, I might need to shorten the jumpsuit. So there are adjustment lines there, and it's all very well explained in the pattern. Let's say I was 6'2" and my measurements are a lot smaller than the pattern. It's also described in the chart there what to do and how to lengthen. So it's all very well explained. As I say, you're gonna have a lot of leeway here because the crotch is supposed to be dropped. So there's a lot of leeway for the length of your body to be correct and fitting comfortably in the jumpsuit. I have filmed sewing for you. We're using 3/8 of an inch here. One thing that I did before even sewing everything, of course, is stay stitching. That is something that you always need to do to protect the necklines. You also do the partial armholes to make everything easier, and because I knew my fabric was the type I want to press seams open, not press them together, I serged all the edges of my jumpsuit, including the crotch. I serged everything, got that out of the way. That's a pretty mindless task. You can just do, really relaxing, just serge, forget about it. And then all you have to do is sew. So nice. It's so nice to sew that way. So that's something I did. Here are some of the pattern pieces. They are quite large, so they can't all fit here. This is the back part of the jumpsuit. You can tell that it's just one huge piece. There's no bodice seam right there. This is the facing of the back I've just placed on. This one's already interfaced, and you can see that it's got that longer shape there because we're going to have an opening at the back. I'm just going to sew one pocket on one hip, but of course if you want on both sides you need 4. This long piece has been folded onto each other. It's actually quite long, and it's for the ties. And those are my straps right there. Here is the pattern piece for the front of the jumpsuit. Now this one's going to have a center front seam, obviously, because it's like a super long crotch, but the facing is on the fold there. Here we have the straps, and the way we're going to prepare them is going to be the same way that we prepare the long ties, or even the sash if you're doing that option. So basically we're just going to fold these lengthwise, wrong sides together, and press it. It looks like a really wide piece, but it's going to end up being less wide. Now that we have that fold, we take this long edge and meet the fold in there, and we do that on both of the sides. And then the same on this one. And then we fold it over again. So our straps are basically going to have 4 layers of fabric here, which will replace the interfacing to make them nice and sturdy. This is the front, and we need to stay stitch the neckline and the armhole before starting with the basic sewing steps. This is the neckline. It's the shortest one, and the longest one here is the armhole. So I'm going to be sewing from here to the center, from here out like this for both of these layers. I'm going to be using a regular stitch length. I'm going to do it within the seam allowance, so smaller than 3/8. I'm going to repeat the same thing with the back. I'm going to prepare these facings for later, so I'm just going to extend this front facing over here and then bring my back facings and align them here in these short little side seams. I'm going to pin them here on the sides, just tiny side seams sewn at 3/8. This goes open like this, and then you saw me serging all of the bottom of these facings. So the facing is just one piece now, and I can set it aside. Over here, I'm not going to feature a lot of the sewing construction that could be quite simple. Now, this is like sewing a pair of pants. The only difference that the crotch goes all the way up to here, so you have a really long crotch. It's the typical construction where you put a front and a back leg together, a front and a back leg together. You sew the side seams, you sew the inseams. Then you turn one right sides out and put it inside the other, and then you sew the crotch. It's that type of construction, only that you have a super long crotch. Now, if you want to sew inseam pockets there, that will be done while you're sewing the side seam in that step, before sewing the inseam. I have a super complete video showing you how to sew inseam pockets that could apply to anything. These are the types of inseam pockets that are just on the seam, they're not anchored anywhere. I will link to a really helpful video down below in the description box that shows you all the steps, the understitching, all the things, because that technique can be universal to whatever inseam pocket you're sewing. So that's going to be helpful for you. So let's skip all the construction and let's hop into having the jumpsuit already sewn with the raw neckline and the straps and the facing, and that's what I've chosen to feature here. And we're going to end up with a type of U, but a very long U like this. Now, if you were doing the closed facing, you would just sew it like normal and that's it. But because we have the open facing, there is a little mark up there where we're going to start sewing, and we're going to leave the rest open to sew the facing on later. I'm going to sew the strap into the back and leave it loose here for the front so I can actually regulate and try it on by myself without any help. So this is the front here, this is the back there, and this is where we have the open back right there. So this is where I'm going to put the strap here, where it goes. The straps are in place, and then I'm going to take my facing and pin it all the way around. Okay, here is the back neckline, and this is where the strap is going to be. I've centered it on that top edge where you have that straight shape there, and this is the open area of the back. So I've got it pinned in place, and now over to the center front here where we have the seam is where I'm going to start pinning this facing. So the front facing was on the forward, it's just one piece, and I made a tiny mark on the center front when I was cutting this out so I can align it to the seam here, and this is where I'm going to start pinning it all the way around here. Now this area, when I sew this, I'm going to leave all of this free. So I'm going to sew up to there, and then I'm going to start sewing here and leave all that open so that I can come back later and put my strap in there and sew it after trying this on and figuring out what length of strap I'm happy with. I've cut out a little piece to do the loop that's going to be at the back of the open facing. It's 1 inch by probably 3 inches long here. It's way longer than what I need, but I can always trim some excess away afterwards. I'm going to fold this lengthwise, and I'm going to sew it with 1/4 inch and then flip it to the other side. Here is one of the center backs. I have everything extended here and the facing on top. This is going to end up on the right side of my body, which is usually where the loop would be. And I'm going to get my loop and just fold it like this. And I'm going to place it about 3/8 of an inch below the raw edge there and within the seam allowance. Maybe tuck it in a little bit more right there. Now I'm going to take my sweet time to hand baste this because I don't want anything to move. What I'm going to do now, because I can, is sew this little bit at the bottom. Align them here, right sides together. There you can see what I've done. I've sewn from the bottom and up to that little mark right there. This is going to be pressed open in the end, and from the other side it's going to look like that, the bottom of the facing. But I still have all this neckline to hand baste. I don't want to deal with so many pins and so many curves. Okay, I have hand basted all around the neckline, and now we're going to sort out this little edge. Now you can see that this seam is open, that small seam that we did right there, and I have matched this up with the opening that we have on the main jumpsuit there. So those seams are open from the crotch, and this one is not the crotch, but you know, it's higher up. So they're at the same place, and this is the seam that we need to sew now. So I just did that so you can see what I mean, but we're not going to pin them together like that. We're actually going to open this up like this and have all the seam allowance go to the same side, and we're going to put a pin right here where that seam is and match it up to where the seam is on the other side. We've got the same spot right there, right on top of each other, and this is what I'm going to sew now, from there up to there, matching up these edges. Okay, there's that seam that went right up to there, and it's the same over here. So we basically have an intersection of seam allowances here, and now we do the same with the other side, and now it's the same with this other side that's still loose. Push all the bulk down and then sew really neatly up to there. And once the center back is done, we can do all the neckline that's already basted. I've got the loops in there basted as well. Okay, so the center back seams have been sewn up to there, up to there. This is free. Now afterwards, when I flip it all to the inside, the seam is going to be pressed open and it's going to look super neat. It's a hot mess now, but it'll be really nice once we press it. And so now we're going to sew the neckline. I've got it hand basted. Remember, on the front, I'm leaving it open. So I'm going to finish my seam there, and then I'm going to start my seam there, leaving the opening so that after I try on, I can pull the strap in afterwards. Okay, so now we can flip this facing to the inside. This is not the final finishing stages. I'm just flipping it roughly so that I can go quickly and try this on. I still need to come back afterwards and do the understitching, but I want to figure out the length of this strap. Okay, so there's a strap sewn onto the back, and I'm keeping it straight so it doesn't twist, and that's how it's going to go inside here. So I'm just going to push it in like that and then flip this. Make sure the strap is aligned to the raw edge right there. And now I'm going to sew this little seam straight across, and it's going to catch the front strap here. So there we go. Strap is sewn on the back and the front now. I've already been to the iron and pressed this little opening on the back super neatly. So this is pressed open, that's pressed open, everything's nice and neat in there. And I flipped the corners over here, and when you flip this corner, the loop appears. So that's what's going to overlap there. I need to find a button to sew there at the end. But I'm going to unflip it a little bit, and I'm going to snip into these curves over here because this whole neckline is curved, the front and the back. And then the understitching is going to be done in lots and lots of sections because I can't understitch where the straps are. Okay, this is the first area that I'm going to understitch, not up to the corner because you can't get there. You also can't get that close to the strap, so it'll be a smallish section, but at least partially is better than no understitching. So I'm going to extend this, push the seam allowance under the facing, and sew on the edge. I've been to the iron and pressed all the facings nice and neatly. You can see the understitching is just done partially, not around the strap areas. Here, where the facing meets the center front, I'm going to do some hand sewing there, just in the seam allowance to help keep it down. And at the back, I do want to top stitch. So while I was at the iron pressing, I was also hand basting. So from the side seam all the way along the back, following the curve. And also this area here, I want to top stitch that down. Also, this seam on the inside is raw, so I want to protect that by stitching it down. This is my first gorgeous jumpsuit. Now I found a really great deal on this fabric online, and I bought so much yardage, so you're probably going to get sick of this fabric because I'm going to be using it for other things. It's really bold. Love the hot pink with the beige. This is the center front seam, really long crotch here. This is the back, has the open facing with a little loop. Very cute, lovely, super nice facing finish in there. This is the type of open facing you would need if you were more of a pear shape, larger hip size and bust size. Not my case, but I can still do it. I mean, you know, it's not that I needed it, but I can still do it. Wide strap option. I did try this on before putting the front strap in here. You saw that I did that in 2 separate sections. And my strap ended up being about 2 inches shorter than what we had here, so that I get enough coverage here and that the crotch doesn't end up being too short. This on the right leg is where I've sewn my inseam pocket. I'll wear it and live my life in it for a while before deciding if I want to remove it or not. On this other side, I don't have a pocket. This is a mid-length playsuit. This was supposed to have 6.5-inch inseam, but I added 2 inches to that just so that it reaches above my knee. I do want to wear this to church and dress it up a little bit. It does sort of look like a dress if I wanted to. So that's why I ended up making mine a little bit longer. The ties, while I was trying on the straps over here, I also wanted to see where the ties were going to go. And I was going to put them on the side, but then I figured out they're super long. They're long enough that I can put them in the center front seam, and then they can tie up all the way at the back. And then the ties, I think, distribute the excess of the waist a little better like that. I like that. So I'm glad I did that. I love how it turned out. Unfortunately, I'm in full-blown winter right now, so I'm going to have to wait a while to wear this out, actually. So I'm excited though, it's something nice to look forward to. So let's see this one on. Here is my Seachange jumpsuit. I'm very happy with this. I'm happy with the fit. I sewed a straight size 18 Australian sizing. The original length has 6.5 inches of inseam, but I added 2.5 to mine just to make sure it's above my knee. The fabric is a rayon, 70% linen, 30% blend, and it's really striking. I added the ties for waist shaping and put them into the center front seam. You can put them on the side seam as well. I really love how it looks with the ties. I don't think I would have sewn it without the ties. Up closer you can see this neckline. I did shorten my straps a little bit just to get a little more cover under the arm. I have the open back facing version, and look at this neckline. It's finished very neatly with the facing inside. If your hip size is larger than your bust and waist size, then you should sew this open facing at the back to get you more space to step into the jumpsuit. In my case, I have the same size, so I could have chosen a closed facing or the open one. It's amazing for a nice hot day. Super fresh. Here I've got a little layer on top, sleeveless jacket in a cotton lycra that looks like denim, some navy sneakers. I think navy and this tone of pink are amazing together. So this would be a super nice casual look if I want an extra layer. I really enjoy this look together. The sleeveless jacket serves me so well. And navy goes with a lot of bright colors like this one, so I'm very happy with this. Here I've dressed up my Seachange playsuit with a linen jacket. I like this jacket because it's not a blazer, but you can still dress it up. I love the shoes here in the bag. So this is how I would wear my romper to church. It does sort of like look like a dress. You can't really see that they're shorts there that much. I think I would always make it this length just to feel comfortable. Length is always personal, and this is the one that I like. I knew I wanted to make a second version. It took me so much time to find the right type of fabric. I thought I had so many options, but it ends up I didn't have that many options because of the yardage required. So this is what I've chosen. I'll show you the details up close of the fabric. It is 100% rayon, but it's weaved in a way that's very interesting. It's very interesting. It frayed quite a lot as well, but it's super drapey, and this one is full length. Now I did make a mistake with this one, because, you know, I didn't make a test garment or whatever. I didn't account for the blousing that you get when you put on a belt, because, you know, any garment that you put on a belt on is going to end up a little shorter. So I should have added at least 1.5 inches extra to the length of the pants at the bottom, because they ended up a little bit short. I mean, not terribly, but I would have liked them a little bit, you know, a little bit longer. Look at this fabric. It's just amazing. It's got so much texture, so beautiful. In this case, I top stitched the facing down all the way around just to keep it neat. Also because it frays a lot, so I wanted to protect everything in here as well. And the back is just a closed back facing, nothing special there. Here I sewed on a little belt loop because I decided to use a regular belt with this one. And I have little belt loops on the side as well. I just created my own rectangles, nothing hard. I just cut a strip of 1 inch. And I prepared it in the same way I prepared the strap. It's just tiny, and I sewed those on at the very end. And then it's the same as the other version, just super long. I wish I'd cut it a little bit longer. So yeah, this is amazing. It's so, so nice. I can't wait to wear it. I was wearing it around the house before filming the lookbooks outside, and both my husband and my son, they were like, oh wow, you look good. They've never seen me in a style like this because this is totally, totally new for me, totally out of my comfort zone, but I'm so glad I tried it. Let's see it on. This is my second Seachange jumpsuit from Pattern Emporium. This time it's a full-length version. I have a size 18. I have a really interesting rayon weave here. I couldn't quite describe it. All I know it's 100% rayon, so it's super floaty. And up closer you're going to see the details of this fabric. It's amazing. I have a regular belt on. I didn't sew ties or a sash. I put my own little loops. I'll show you up closer. I couldn't really wear this without the belt. It is very loose. It's very comfortable. And there you can see my little belt loop. I just sewed little rectangles. There's no big secret there. And I just figured out the placement by trying on the jumpsuit and seeing where I wanted it to be. I wanted there to be some blousing. And up top you can see the neckline. It's all the same except that I have the closed facing on the back. So I sewed the crotch seam all the way up to the top. I have a straight size, which means my bust and my hips are in the same size on the chart. I can perfectly step into the jumpsuit from the top and I don't need that open facing. And the facing's really neat. For this one I top stitched it all the way around just to keep it secure. This version doesn't have any pockets. I just sewed the side seams normal, no pockets for me this time. And it's very simple styling here. This is exactly how I would wear it if it's a hot day. Very much approved by my son and my husband, which I'm very surprised about. I've never ever sewn or worn a style like this and I love it. Here's another option if I want a little layer. I have this ready to wear crop blazer that I found this summer in Chile. It's made out of linen. I really want to sew something similar because it's so handy for wider styles like this, and I've paired it with pink accessories. I think it makes it look really cute. I have the same little thin belt right there and I love it. I love this outfit. I know I'm gonna wear this to church when the weather is nice again. I'll be rocking this jumpsuit and I can't wait. I'll just have to build up some patience because I'm in winter right now. Super happy I tried this option. And if you're curious to see how this looks like without any waist shaping, I'm going to show you how this looks like just on its own, no belt, just so you can see. Here I am in my jumpsuit with no shaping, just wearing it like it is. And I suppose there could be a time and a place for a style like this. It's very loose, it's very comfortable. It feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. But as you can see, it's very, very loose at the waist. And I prefer to have some waist shaping in every garment that I make and sew. So you can wear it like this if you want to, but I am always just gonna wear it with a belt. I guess the shorter versions you could get away with not doing any shaping because there's more legs showing, but for this version at least, where the fabric goes all the way down to the floor, I would always want to add my little belt in there. The other version that you saw, the print one, would look like this, just shorter, but it's the same size, everything's the same. Maybe you would have noticed that it's a little bit short, especially when I'm wearing it with heels, you know. I would have liked it a tad longer, but that's okay. We all make mistakes. And it was really, really hard for me to measure really that inseam because it was a low crotch. I thought it looks a little shorter, but it's a low crotch. It's going to end up being longer than what I thought. But yeah, things that happen with sewing, that's absolutely fine. The next pair I make, I'm just going to add a little bit at the hem, just make them a little bit longer at the bottom. These feel amazing on. You don't know how nice they feel. They just flow over you, so amazing. And they're just so easy to get in and out of. I was skeptical at first. I was thinking, how is that even possible? But it is totally possible. You just step right in and then you just pull it on up and it's just very, very easy to wear. I don't see myself having issues in a bathroom or that sort of thing, or needing help or just feeling a bit stressed about how am I going to get out. Tell me what you think about jumpsuits. If you've been following my sewing for a while, you know I haven't sewn many at all. It's been years and years and years, and look, I'm 45 and I've just tried a style like this and I'm so happy. I think some styles are just harder for us to get used to, and sometimes you just gotta take a leap. That's what I did here, and I'm so very glad I did because I'm very happy with how they turned out. I know I'm gonna make these again. I know I'm gonna make a short one to wear not for going to church, so just something super casual for a beach or something. I'd like to have a shorter one around the mid-thigh. I think that would be amazing. And the next long one I make, I know I'm gonna make it a little bit longer. So I'm really thrilled. I'm really, really thrilled. The fabrics are amazing and I had a great experience. Remember that I have a special coupon code. If you buy it, put it in your cart and use the code Karina with a capital, Karina20 at checkout, you'll get 20% off. But the coupon expires Wednesday at midnight. That's in my time, Brazilian Standard Time. If you're in Chicago or that area, it'll be around 2 a.m.-ish. We have a little over 3 days to use the code, so I hope you take advantage and get it for a little bit less. That's all from me. I'll see you soon with more sewing on this channel. Bye.